Hi, everybody. We're going to wait for a few people to get started as we load everybody into the virtual room here. Thank you for coming to our But Why book launch.
We're so excited that you can join us this afternoon.
Yeah, it may not be afternoon where all of you are. We know that some people are joining from other parts of the world as far away as Australia and Japan. That's so exciting. So, whatever time of day it is, thank you for being with us. People are coming in now, so we're going to give everybody a little more time. So bear with us for a couple seconds here. In the meantime, admire our beautiful banner. You have no idea what it takes to look like this on the screen. We actually have things propped up on trash cans and recycling bins. It's the glamorous life of podcasters and Zoomcasters these days.
Well, I think we're ready to get started. Hi, I'm Melody Beaudet. I'm the producer of But Why.
And I'm Jane Lindholm. I'm the host of But Why. And we're so glad that you're all here for this virtual book launch. We know that so many of our listeners and fans and friends are all over the world. And so this was a great way for us to be able to come and say hello to you and thank you for being our supporters for so many years. And thanks for coming to our book launch. We're so excited about our books.
Yes, that is why we're here today. We're here today to tell you about our new books. Our first book is Are Llamas Ticklish?
And it's all about farm animals. And then our second book is called Do Fish Breathe Underwater? And this answers questions about ocean animals, but also about other things in the ocean, like why we have tides and how deep the deepest part of the sea is.
We had so much fun researching these books. Some of the questions from the book are from the podcast, but many of them are new. And we actually were doing a lot of talking to new experts for these books. Jane, did you have a favorite fun fact from the farm animal book?
Yeah, I did. So one of the things that really intrigued me was we got a question from a young listener who wanted to know, why do goats have square eyes? And at first we were like, goats don't really have square eyes, but they do have rectangular pupils. And so in doing the research, we learned that goats have rectangular pupils for a few reasons. And one is that when they're eating grass down on the ground, it's probably helping to block out some of the harshest sunlight. So it's a little bit like sunglasses, but also having that rectangular wide pupil gives goats a chance to see really far, a really wide field of vision, unlike human eyes. And so if they're down, grazing on grass on the ground, they can see all around them to check if there's a predator there. And in fact, other animals also have rectangular pupils, and they're mostly considered prey animals. So deer and horses and toads, and actually octopi also have rectangular eyes. And it's just, I had no idea. I thought that was really cool.
I love that.
How about you? Anything for you from the ocean book?
Oh, yeah, actually, speaking of octopi or octopuses, both are grammatically correct. My favorite fact was that when octopus lose a limb, they grow a new one. And I think most people know that. But what's interesting about octopus compared to other animals that may lose a limb is that when the octopus limb grows back, it's as good as the limb that it lost. Whereas something like a lizard, the second tail that grows in is never as high of quality. So octopus have something special going on that gives them that ability.
That's so cool.
It was so neat.
Yeah, I love learning about octopuses too.
Yeah.
So as we're getting started here, let's tell you a little bit about what's going to happen in the next half hour. So we thought it would be fun to give you at least one of the answers in one of the books so that you can see a little bit about what it's like in our books. And then we're going to give you some trivia. So get ready to answer some trivia questions. Kids who are watching, you can answer the polls. We're going to put them right on the screen, or your adults can help you. And also, we'd love to know what questions you have for us about farm animals or oceans or about how we make the podcast. So at the end, we're going to give you a chance to ask us questions, which makes us uncomfortable. We usually get to answer the questions.
We can't answer any question about anything since we're not necessarily experts, but we can definitely answer any questions you have about us, the podcast, the books. We are very well versed in answers to farm animal and ocean questions now. So we'd love to hear any of those. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can get in there and type in your question, or if you have an adult with you, have them help you type in the question, and we would love to answer it.
Yeah, so you can start loading those Q&A spot questions if you want. We'll get to them as we can. And thanks to the family listening from St. Louis who are already weighing in on the question and answer area. We're so excited to have you. Just so you know, this podcast got started a little more than 6 years ago now. We went live on the April Fool's Day of 2016, and we wanted a way to give kids a chance to drive conversations and have a sort of a public radio feel. We're made at Vermont Public, which was known as Vermont Public Radio at the time, and so it really has this feeling of inquiry and curiosity, and that anything kids have a question about is a valid question that deserves an answer. So we always love to take all of your questions and treat them with the seriousness they deserve, and find you great experts who can help you get the answers that you're looking for.
And we're so happy to bring the same but why content to the book form. An editor at Penguin Random House reached out to us in early 2020 and asked if we wanted to do a book project. And we were so excited because we know that many of our listeners love to read. And so we're happy to have them be able to read but why books.
As these questions are coming in, we'll give you guys a few more minutes to load up some questions. Why don't we do an actual question from the farm book?
All right, so we're going to let you pick a question.
We went to farms around Vermont and filmed some of the questions in the book, and we got answers from Vermont farms. So we're going to let you pick which of these you want us to answer, and then we're going to take you to a Vermont farm to get the answer. So you should see a poll on your screen. The two questions to choose from are llamas ticklish, or why are pigs' tails curly? Go ahead and vote if you can right now. We're going to see which one of these questions wins, and then we'll send you to the Vermont farm for the answer. Which one's winning so far, Melody?
So far, we've got why are pigs' tails curly winning. So get your votes in. We'll give it another minute or so before we see the answer.
If you want the llamas, you better get your vote in now, because it looks like pigs are going to win. Oh no, they're catching up. Llamas are catching up. Has everybody voted? Because right now we're at, oh no, llamas are winning. Oh no, you pig people are going to miss out.
All right, I'm going to end the poll. We're going to share the results. Oh, it looks like it's our llamas ticklish. All right, so let me get that up for you.
This is But Why, a show for curious kids with me, Melody Beaudet. You ask the questions and we find the answers.
Are llamas ticklish?
We're so glad you picked this question. We love this question when Addie sent it to us. We're here at Northern Vermont Llama Company in Waterville, Vermont, and we're here with Steve. And who's this?
This is DJ.
And how old is DJ?
So DJ is 16.
And DJ's a llama.
DJ is a llama.
So we want to know if llamas are ticklish, and really, there's like one way to find out. So you ready to tickle him?
There is only one way to find out. Most llamas are not, probably will not show much for when they're ticklish, but every once in a while you get a unique llama like DJ. When he gets a good scratch going, he really likes, oh, there it is. There's the sweet spot.
It's like a dog.
Yes, it's like a dog wagging its tail or scratching its leg when you get him in, oh, right, the right spot, right there, right?
But if I tried to like tickle his neck, he's like, no.
No, it's got to be there. It's got the one spot, and that's where DJ's a unique one. Most guys will probably just kind of, they'll tolerate like that, but every once in a while you find that right spot and they just love it.
So have you ever heard the llamas laughing?
I have not heard them laughing. He's doing his humming right now, which could be close to a laugh, but no, basically that's their happy. When their ears are up like that, that's their happy time.
We were curious if there are any animals that do laugh, so we checked in with a comparative cognition lab. That's a lab that studies the differences between the ways that animals think and humans think. And they told us that chimpanzees do laugh. Baby chimpanzees laugh in the same situations that baby humans laugh at, like when they're being tickled and when they're playing. And then they told us about another animal that laughs, and this one surprised us. Rats. The same rats that you find in a city street or maybe living in your compost pile. Those rats emit a high-pitched noise that we can't hear. The researchers were able to find it using a special microphone, and they found that rats laugh in the same situations that humans laugh at, like when they're being tickled and when they're playing. So the llamas here at Northern Vermont Llama Company, they're not here for tickle parties.
No, not tickle parties, although they probably would love it.
So what do you use the llamas for?
So we use them, you can see they're long, beautiful fiber. We use them we make hats and different type of fiber products with them. So you can do hats. My mother makes stuffed animals, stuff like that. And then also, we take them out for hikes. And then little kids and families, we take right up and they go for about 2 hours. And the llamas carry your backpack and your lunch on their back for you while you get to wander along with them. And then we have a Ben & Jerry's snack at the end.
That sounds really fun. And I've heard that some farms also use llamas as guardian animals.
Yes, and that's actually it's actually very funny to me, because that's where llamas are by nature very curious. As you can see, they're all just checking us all out here, and that's what they see. When they see a dog or a wolf or a coyote, they think they're the funniest looking creatures on the planet. So they want to go over and say hi. And so they'll go running over when they're mixed in with the sheep, and the coyote will see a llama, a big llama especially, run right over, and they'll be like, whoa, that thing looks weird. So I'm going to go to another pasture that doesn't have one of those, and then the llama will watch them go away, and that's a guard llama for you.
Well, humans might feel the same way. Llamas are definitely interesting to look at. Is that what you think people like about them?
I think look at just the characters. You can look at all these different guys. There's not one that's alike. They all have different personalities, and they're very sweet. They're very sweet.
I love the underbite of the teeth. Well, thanks, Steve, and thanks, DJ.
No problem. You have fun, DJ?
To find out more about But Why and listen to full podcast episodes, go to butwhykids.org.
So there you have it. That is all about llamas. I think llamas are
I
fascinating.
think they are too. And if you like that video, there are many more just like it on our new YouTube channel, which we just launched, and we would love if you guys checked it out. So check us out on YouTube.
But here's a secret we're only going to tell you. In the book, it says llamas aren't ticklish, but you just heard Stephen tell us that DJ is ticklish. But I think most llamas they certainly don't laugh at our jokes. We tried out some jokes on those llamas when we visited, and none of them laughed at any of the jokes we told.
But one thing that we did learn when we were at Northern Vermont Llama Company is that llamas like to hum. They make a humming noise. That's the noise that llamas make when they're happy and they're satisfied and it's all going well. They make a
And, pigs' tails are curly, just in case you were hoping that we would answer that one for a little bit of a mysterious reason. Scientists aren't exactly sure how that happened, but it seems like a lot of it had to do with breeding. So when farmers domesticated pigs and they were trying to breed them for certain characteristics, meaning they wanted pigs that were either like really fat and big for a lot of meat, or they wanted to breed pigs that had a lot of teats or nipples so that they could have a lot of piglets at one time, that the things that they were breeding them for kind of came along with curly tails, because some wild pigs don't have curly tails at all. And sometimes baby pigs are born without curly tails, but they curl up pretty quickly. And the farm we went to, the farmer said when her pigs are depressed, their tails droop. And so that's one way she can tell that her pigs are either not feeling happy or not feeling healthy in other ways too, because if their tails are sort of droopy, that's not a sign of a happy pig.
So what do you want to do, Jane? Do you want to do a trivia question, or do you want to answer some of these questions? Great.
And remember, if you have a question for us, if you can type it yourself, that's great. Or if you want to have one of your adults help you type it in, you can put it right in the Q&A, which should be at the bottom of your screen, right around there. And we'll answer some questions as we go through. And then we've got some trivia questions for you to answer. Do you want to answer the question from Riley? How long did it take us to write the books?
Yeah, so Riley, who's 11 from London, wants to know how long did it take us to write the books? Actually, only a couple of months for each book. It's funny to think about how long it took, because there's some other things behind the scenes that take a long time with writing books, but the actual research and writing was only a couple months for each of them. Yeah,
we started in mid 2020 maybe. Yeah, and it took a while for the books to come out, including the publication got delayed because of shipping delays because of the pandemic. So yeah, lots of delays with that. We have two questions about favorite animals. So Peter Jones wrote in, what is your favorite animal? And that comes from Ella, who's 8 and lives in Perth in Western Australia. And oh my gosh, Ella, it is 4 a.m. where you are, and you're awake for this. We're so grateful for that. That is so awesome. Thank you. Favorite animal? Do you have one, Melody?
Right now, I already talked about octopus, so I'm not going to talk about octopus again today, but I do love them. I love llamas. But my favorite animal right now, and from writing these books, is actually sharks. Really? And I was not one of those kids who was like really into sharks and reading shark books. But when I was doing research on sharks for these books, I talked to a shark researcher at the Georgia Aquarium named Katie Lyons, and she just really sold me on the shark world. And sharks are just so fascinating. I mean, they're huge sharks. There's like the great white shark. And then there's little tiny mini sharks that can live like, you know, in your house in an aquarium. And they're just so vastly different. And there's so many different adaptations that sharks have. My favorite shark that I learned about was the frilled shark.
Ooh.
And it has teeth that point inward. It was just really fascinating.
You're kind of giving away one of the answers to one of our trivia questions. My favorite animal, I like Melody, and maybe like some of you, I have a different animal depending on when you ask me the question. But generally, my favorite animal is a hedgehog. And we don't actually have any hedgehogs that are native, at least to this part of North America, or maybe all of North America. But one time when I was visiting family in Wales in the United Kingdom, a hedgehog literally came right out of the hedge, and it sat there in front of me and my family for a few minutes. And we have a picture of me looking at the hedgehog like this, because I was so excited to see it. So that I think is my favorite. But Owen, who's 6.5, six and a half.
Back to the hedgehog.
Yeah.
Why can't it just share the hedge? Why does it have to be a hog?
But Melody's got all the good
Got all
jokes.
the bad jokes.
My second favorite animal is a cow, Owen. I would say a cow. Do you have a second favorite?
My second favorite animal right now is maybe not the most exciting animal question, but dogs. It's taken me a long time to come around to dogs, but I have a dog that I love so much that dogs have become my second favorite animal.
So even though your personal dog is the dog you love,
Yeah.
you now love all dogs.
Most of them, yeah.
Let's do a trivia question and then we'll answer more of your questions, but we
Oh.
want to make you answer some of our questions.
Okay, so this question is, what was the first domesticated animal? So start your answers now.
Your choices are cows, dogs, or chickens. And do you know what domesticated means? So domesticated is when people took animals that were wild and made them not so wild. So these animals became either pets or for the purposes of our book, we wrote about animals that became farm animals. And you can think of all of the farm animals that live on farms, and they couldn't really live in the wild as easily anymore. That means domesticated. They were taken from wild animals and became more domestic, more sort of housebound or farm bound. What do you think? Are we there?
So they're coming in slower, so I'm going to share the results. Oh, dogs, you guys are smart. We can't fool you. And the interesting thing about dogs is they don't know if humans domesticated dogs or if dogs domesticated themselves. They think that there's another theory out there that perhaps dogs are hanging around humans because humans had a lot of food scraps and things that dogs might want. There's another theory that humans maybe started capturing dogs for their own purposes, but it's really unclear. It's interesting.
Yeah, and good job. You guys all got it right. Let's do one other trivia question
Okay.
because we were just talking about sharks. And I think our next trivia question is about sharks. Okay. All right. Which type of shark has rows of teeth that are fused together? A frilled shark, a cookie cutter shark, or a megalodon? So fused together, like one big kind of big tooth, not lots of individual teeth like you normally think of with sharks. Which one do you think it is?
All right, the votes are coming in. See what they think.
Everybody loves a megalodon. But
They
do you
are
think
pretty
a-
cool.
You think a megalodon has fused teeth? That's a prehistoric shark that no longer lives.
Right, they're slowing down, so I'm going to end it. And let's see what you guys thought. Oh, they got it right. It is the cookie cutter shark. Woo, you guys are awesome.
Megalodon was winning for a while there. I thought we were going to get a megalodon answer.
The interesting thing about cookie cutter sharks is they're really small. They're another one of those tiny little sharks, and they have those rows of teeth. They lose a whole row instead of a single tooth.
That I think is amazing. That was one of the coolest things in our research that I learned, because you think of sharks losing teeth because they often have rows and rows, but that shark loses a whole row of teeth all at once because they're fused together.
Pretty cool. All right.
Can we answer some more questions?
Yeah, let's answer some more questions. Jane, this one is for you. What is the silliest question you've ever been asked by kids? This is from Wesley.
We
in
had
Delaware. Hi,
a
Wesley.
ton of silly questions and we love them. I don't know which one is actually the silliest question, but the question that I love the most, Melody, is the question that came in from one super enthusiastic kid who was sort of working her way through the question as she was asking it.
Mm.
And she was asking about jellyfish.
Mm.
And I won't try to be her, but she was basically saying, why are jellyfish made of jelly? Or are they made out of jelly? And why can't I touch them? I want to touch it. And then her excitement made me so happy. So I think about that question a lot. And sometimes I just think to myself, when there's something like a hot stove that I shouldn't touch, I just say, I want to touch it.
I love the questions that come in where the kids you're asking a very serious question, but there's sometimes a very poetic kind of answer to it. Like we had a question a while back, and this is actually in one of our episodes, do bumblebees have hearts? And there's a lot of ways to interpret that. Like, do they have a physical heart, or like, do they have an emotional heart, and do they have emotional lives? And I love that.
Yeah, that is a good question. So Sam, Nathan, and Ryan, who are 8, and 5 and live in Ohio, want to know what question has been asked the most times for the podcast.
Oh, I think the question that we get asked the most is, who is the first human?
Yeah.
And we do have an episode about that. So I encourage everybody to check it out. Is there one that you think that we get asked a lot that's different than that?
No, we do get asked that one a lot. And we do have a lot of questions about dinosaurs. And I always feel a little bad when we get those, because we still haven't done a dinosaur episode, which seems like, how could we be a podcast like this and not have done a dino episode? But we would really like to go out to a dinosaur dig and do our dinosaur episode at a dig where we can help or watch some scientists and researchers dig up fossils. So we keep holding on to those questions, and we couldn't do that episode during the pandemic. So maybe we'll finally get to it this year.
All right, next question. Could you make a Minecraft episode? Do we have any Minecraft? I'm not sure we have any Minecraft questions. I'm not going to promise that we'll do one, but we do consider every question that comes in. So if somebody has a good question about Minecraft, we would definitely consider it. We do get questions about video games and how video games are made frequently. And that's one that we haven't necessarily done yet. Maybe probably because it's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, sometimes we think, like, could we go to, like, talk to a gamer or talk to a game designer and maybe do that? And we have some schools here in Vermont that focus on college degrees for gamers, so there may be a way to do that. And Riley wants to know, why did we write the books?
I think, we just wanted to bring our But Why content to a different format. We know that the kids who are listening to our podcast are either learning to read or quite accomplished readers themselves. And so we just wanted to have another way that you can enjoy our podcast in a book form.
And one of the coolest things to me is that these books, Melody and I did the writing, but we are not illustrators. And they put in these amazing illustrations and photos. And I think it may be like the text might be backwards for you there, but you can see in some of the pictures, like here again is the octopus one. There's a photograph of an octopus, and then Neil Swab, who did the illustrations, illustrated all of them. And so they have all of these funny pictures. And for me, that was a really cool new way to both write and to visualize things.
We definitely love the podcast format, but one thing that's missing with podcasts is visuals. So the books and the YouTube channel are just another way to get some visuals. Because sometimes we're writing scripts for episodes, and we're like, if we could just show them a picture, it would be so much easier.
Do you have a favorite book? James, who's 5, wants to know.
I'm going to talk about kids' books. My favorite kids' book for kids who can read independently is written by a Vermont author. It's a fiction book called Bridge to Terabithia. But a book that came up that I love in our podcast is a picture book called The Dark by Lemony Snicket.
Yeah,
love that one.
We have an episode with Lemony Snicket, and it's all about why are people afraid of the dark? And he was great in that episode. And then the second half of that episode, I went out for a nighttime walk with a Vermont Fish and Wildlife scientist. And so we went to see what we can hear and feel and think about in the darkness, and why being in the dark can be really cool. It can be scary for some people, but you can also kind of experience new things in the darkness. So I love that too. Do you want to do another trivia?
Yeah, let's do another trivia question. All right. Which egg color does not exist? Which one of these egg colors is fake?
Yeah, which one of these egg colors is not natural when it comes out of a chicken specifically?
So the green, pink, or purple?
What do you think? And specific to chickens, really, we're talking here, but there is variety in the egg world, but yeah, chickens.
And I love chickens, so there's a whole chicken section in the llamas book, and I encourage you all to check it out. All right, I'm going to end it. Let's see who we got.
Purple.
That's right. There are no purple eggs, but you can actually find light pink eggs and you can find green eggs.
And one of the things that we discuss in the book is why people tend to buy brown and white eggs and not the green eggs or the kind of blue eggs, because some of the chickens that people have in their backyards have like these beautiful green eggs. And yet if you go to the grocery store, most grocery stores only have brown eggs or white eggs. And whether brown or white are favored depends on what region of the country you're in if you live in the United States.
All right, let's get an ocean question going. Okay, jellyfish have which of these parts? Skin, brain, or hearts? What do jellyfish have?
Skin, brain, or heart. So jellyfish don't have the other two.
They don't have the other two things, but they have one of these things.
Okay, so they either have skin or a brain or a heart, or more than one heart.
Oh, I've seen some variety in the responses that are coming in. All right, let's see what we got. All right, so most of you thought that jellyfish had a brain, and actually, jellyfish do not have a brain or a heart.
They have skin.
They have skin and they have water. They're just kind of like an epidermis, a gastrodermis, different layers of skin, and then they're just water.
So how do they move with no brain?
They just kind of float around on the ocean currents. They don't really drive where they're going. So if you ever encounter a jellyfish, you know, as unpleasant as that may be, the jellyfish wasn't headed for you. It was just floating around on the ocean currents.
All right, so Sophie, who's 9, and Annabelle, who's 6, and both of them live in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, want to know, why do bunnies have white tails?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know. But deer have white tails too. There must be something about that.
Yeah, so we should research this and we'll get back to you. But here's my theory. One theory of mine would be that their white tails signal something. And one thing that they might signal, because both deer and bunnies are prey animals, is that they would give predators a flashing signal so the predator would bite that part of their body and not their heads. Because a lot of animals that have some sort of camouflage, like if you think about certain butterflies and moths, for example, they will camouflage themselves so that it looks like they have really big eyes, or that their eyes are where their butts are, so that the predator will bite them in a less crucial spot. So that's my guess about why cottontail bunnies
So
have.
maybe think about recording that question and sending it along. We have about 3 minutes left, so we're going to do this lightning round to try to get through as many of these questions as we can.
How many episodes do we have?
184.
Almost 85.
Almost, 185 comes out next Friday. Is it hard to post on time? Well, that depends. We try to work ahead as much as we can.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard, but we've never missed a Friday for posting. How long do llamas live?
I think they're like horses and they live around 20-ish years, but I'm not sure on that
I
one.
think we talked about that with DJ the llama. That, yeah, they're in their 20s usually. Owen likes wildcrats and wonders if we have a favorite show about wildlife. I also love wildcrats, and then I also love is it called Blue Earth, Blue Planet, the documentary series about wildlife and the world.
And Jane actually interviewed the wildcrats, and there's an episode about that way far back in our feed, so check that out. You're gonna like it. Why are diamonds so strong and hard? We do have an episode about rocks, and it has to do with how close together the minerals are on that one.
Yeah, that one is complicated for me. So I sort of got it and sort of didn't. Bobby in Philadelphia wonders which ocean animals sting.
Oh, definitely jellyfish and sea urchins. What other ones am I missing?
Well, they don't really sting in the same way, but you think of stingrays. They have a little barb that they can sting, especially if you step on them. I have family members who have stepped on them.
That's a great question, Bobby. When did they discover copper? Again, don't know that one, but definitely record it and send it in to us, and we'll put it in our list of questions to think about for podcast episodes.
Yeah, and to send in a question for us, you can have an adult help you record it. If you have a smartphone, smartphones are great. And if for some reason you don't like to talk or can't talk or don't have a recording device, you can also just email it. So you record the question or write it down and send it to questions@butwhykids.org. So yeah, we don't know about when they discovered copper, Or another kid who would like to know, when did they discover cotton? I don't know the answer to that one either. But can you recommend any other podcasts as cool as ours?
I definitely love one called Tumble, which is a science podcast. And then for a story podcast, Circle Round is far and away my favorite for that.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of Circle Round. Annabelle wants to know, what is our favorite episode?
Oh, that is a great question. I'm stumped on that one.
This is maybe not the question you were thinking, or the episode you were thinking, but my favorite episode is the episode about what happens when we die, because the truth is that nobody knows. But we tackled questions about death from kids, and that I think is a really challenging topic for adults to answer. And so to have a podcast where you can explore those ideas, and again, where kids have sent us those questions, and so we take them all seriously, was really important to me. That was, I thought, a great episode.
Yeah.
We also have some ones where we rapid fire answer a bunch of questions at once. I think we tried to get 10 questions in 20 minutes. And we got to do things like, how does popcorn pop? And I love that.
And I just remembered that I love the episode, Do Skunks Like Their Own Smell? So check that one out if you haven't heard
We
that
won't
one.
spoil the answer to that.
All right, somebody is asking, when were we born?
I was born in 1979. I am 43.
I was born in 1982, and I am going to be 40 in a couple weeks.
Very exciting. Any other questions? We don't know when iron was discovered, but we can, if you send that question in. Yeah.
Sounds like there's a need for an episode about minerals.
And we don't know who invented Star Wars, except that, you can look at the movies and actually probably see maybe who wrote the scripts. And, that will help you understand who actually wrote them.
If anyone wants to know, do jellyfish bite? They don't bite, but they do have a sting that can be a little bit painful.
Yeah, and we promised you we would only take a half an hour, so we don't want to take up more of your time than we promised. But we do really appreciate all of the questions that you've sent in today, all of the curiosity that you have that we share. That's the best part of making this podcast, is that we also share the curiosity you have, and all the questions you send us that we answer, we get to find the answers to too, and we get to do the research, and that is the coolest thing. So we wouldn't be able to do that without you and your questions. So we're so grateful to you, and we're so grateful for you coming to our book launch party. Here are our books. But Why? Do Fish Breathe Underwater?
And you can get them, they're on sale now, wherever you buy your books. I'm sure you can find them. We also have an audiobook version. If you want to listen to Jane and I read the books, that's available as well. And you can find links to those at butwhykids.org/books. I'll put that in the chat.
And also, there are a lot of other ways that your adults especially can connect with us and can help you connect through social media. So we know that a lot of adults are on social media channels. We have a Facebook page. We're on Twitter. We just started on TikTok and Instagram, and we have a new YouTube channel, as you mentioned.
Search for But Why, a podcast for curious kids on YouTube, and you can see all kinds of videos like the ones with the llamas that we saw today.
And if you happen to live anywhere near Middlebury, Vermont, you can see a lot more of those videos this weekend. We're doing a live in-person book launch on Sunday at 11 a.m. and we are going to have a food truck after, and we'll be signing books. And we think there will be DJ the Llama or some of his friends there for that live show.
And adults, we also have an email list. You can sign up for that at butwhykids.org, and we will send you an email every 2 weeks. We won't fill your inbox, but we do have resources that go along with every episode. We have learning guides, transcripts, and then other ideas for things that you can do that go along with the podcast. And sign up. It comes out every other Friday, just when the episodes do.
Yeah, and you can also subscribe to our podcast if you never want to miss any of those 184 episodes that we've done. Our next episode is going to be about crickets. And I learned so much about crickets.
It was pretty cool. So check that out next Friday.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming from far and wide. I can't believe you are up at 4 a.m. in Australia. And we know we had somebody registered from Japan as well. So thank you for coming from wherever you come from. And thank you for supporting But Why. We're really appreciative.
Bye. Thanks for coming.